was Donald Trump. However, when I entered the room, I've always admired President Trump, one, because he's a businessman and he thinks big and he does things big, and he's just always been the way he is. And I followed him all these years, not knowing that I would be up close and personal with him, to find that the same businessman that I've admired over the years was this businessman that was now in the Oval Office trying to handle American business to cause us as a nation to prosper. I did not meet a racist. I didn't meet a dictator. I didn't meet a misogynist. I didn't meet a Nazi. Not Nazi. No, that's not what. I met a man with a heart for America. What other reason would a man with billions of dollars want to serve a country that hates him? What other reason would a man would try to walk away from all this stuff that he has to go through all of this when he can just live his life and not be concerned? Two assassination attacks. But yet he gets up saying fight, 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 and would not bow to the agenda of people trying to derail him. So I watched a man be concerned about not only one community, but as a Black man, he was concerned about my community. And as a result of that, prison reform was not even on his agenda. But when it was brought to him, he said, do it. When the economic way to stimulate our community through the opportunity zones was brought, he said, do it, because it's an opportunity to lift the maligned and underserved communities. And I'm going to tell you a lot of reason of why some of those resources did not come to the Black community, because some of the people you vote for in this community reject it because it's Republican money, reject it because it's Donald Trump. It's pure ignorance, but because we don't do our facts, because we don't study candidates, we just vote for personalities and names in this community that are not serving any purpose, because our community is still a maligned, still underserved. They don't look any different, but yet we still vote for the same people that produce nothing. And when funds and support was sent, we rejected it. So I'm speaking tonight from a person not sitting on a couch making noise, from a pundit on the media, but I was in the room. And the person in the room and at the table can tell you a little bit more than people who make assumptions and make comments from pulpits that they don't have the proof to back up. And I want to say to you that my time spent there was not a waste, because there were Democratic leaders that were led out of prison because of my advocacy at the table, and because of prison reform, they're home today. So I'm here to tell you today, I believe, as I said, America spoke. And not only did the people that voted for him the first time voted this time, but there were people that did not vote for him the last time that voted because the present does not reflect what America wants to move forward for our future.
Wow. Bishop, you hit it on the nail. You hit the nail on the head. And what I saw I looked at the numbers recently, and I was impressed to see that Black men voted 20%. 20%, that's a lot. The Black female voted 92% for Democrats. They voted 5% more for Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's small, but we're still moving in the right direction. Right. But just to look at those numbers, 20% of Black men came out here and voted. And when I look at the Latino numbers, it was like 45% of the Latino men. I mean, what is the difference between, how Black men are seeing this landscape and the vision compared to how Latinos are seeing it? Because obviously the Latinos are seeing a value here, and they're voting on that, 45%.
Well, if I can defend our community and our Black men, the reason why we end up falling prey to following the left and following the Democratic Party is biological. It's just, I was born a Democrat. My mama was one. My daddy was one. If you ask 90% of our neighborhood, what is the Democrat agenda? They can't tell you. If you ask 90% of our neighborhood, what are their policies? They can't tell you. If you ask 90% of our neighborhood, compare the JFK Democrat to the radical extreme Democrat of the day, they can't articulate that. And I have a problem with people following an agenda that's not even intelligent enough to educate themselves of why they follow what they follow. They only follow what a Black preacher tells them to do, or what a pundit says, or what some activist in the street that's being paid by the Democratic Party tell them to vote. But they they don't educate themselves, research for themselves. They just follow the noise, follow the crowd, and that's why the downward road is crowded. But those who follow the right gate, straight is the gate and narrow is the way. And that's what happens. And so as a result of it, I believe some black men woke up, and it was not because Kamala Harris was a woman, because if there's a strong woman that has values that I believe in, I will vote for her, I will support her on any level of office, and I believe that other men feel the same way. But I believe black men woke up and said, I'm not going to be played. You didn't have an agenda for me until Trump came out with his, and then a week later you're sending Obama and everybody else to rebuke me about how I should vote. And where's Obama been? And what has his policy done for our community? Absolutely nothing. Get mad, call in, it's the facts. When you prove what is done, because I live in the community, then you can talk to me. And this is where we've got to stop this stuff. Oh, you're going against a black man. No, I'm giving facts, whether they're white, black, Indian, Asian, Hispanic. If you don't produce, you don't produce. And if you produce, whoever produced, I'm going to say that you did that. And what we've got to realize, that black man woke up and said, I'm not buying it. And they voted. And I was one of them. Yes, I voted for Trump. And if you don't like it, I love you too. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to change, because a vote for Trump was a vote for the future of America that I want my children to live in and my children to benefit from, not from handouts, but from hand-ups, from opportunities for them to live out the American dream, and not a handout that creates a string of a puppet that I've got to now bow down to simply because I'm in line with it. So that's what happened. Men woke up and it made a difference.
Wow.
Bishop Cabarrus, a coach, my good friend, my colleague, Roberto Batiste, is in the other board there because we miss a mic. And he's the independent voice in here.
All right. Good evening. Good evening.
Hi.
I don't know. I called Johnny. He wasn't able to respond, so I don't know. I catch him later. Yes, he got to recover. He got to recover.
He's in mourning. He's in mourning. He's in mourning with the rest of them. I think that question is obvious, because when President Trump lost his last election, if it was stolen from him, the last one, the same coalition remained with him. There was not a beat miss amongst the Make America Great Again community, because what President Trump was smart enough to do was to build a coalition off the agenda of what he felt was the truth of the direction that America need to go in. And there were a number of people who agreed with him. And it didn't matter that President Biden was in the seat. They still followed the man and followed the agenda that they believed. And as a result of it, you saw in this particular election that same community remained together. And not only them, but even bring in others that were now convinced that we should have voted for this man in the first place. Were we better off 4 years ago or now? And it was obvious that America said we're better off with 4 years ago, because they took the man that was in there and put him back in there because they're not happy with the present administration. So I believe that President Trump can move the nation forward. Will there be some disunity? Will there be some of those who will resist? There are governors that are already gathering together in different states saying they're going to resist everything that he does, resist everything, and you're going to have that. But I believe at the end of the day, the great majority will realize, even those across the aisle, you can't get anything done if you go against this administration. And even in the Congress and the Senate, this administration, the red wave leading there, if all you're going to do is resist and just stay woke and stay bitter, you will not be able to benefit anything for the American people. And what I would like to see is all of our political leaders, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, to realize that, yes, he's in power and we've got to work together because America has enemies. And I believe that President Trump can move us forward. And if all of us, despite what we may feel about the incoming president-elect, if we just put our mind back on our real focus, and that is the people who elected you to represent the American people and our concerns, I believe we can get some work done. Well, economically, I would like to see, of course, we had the opportunity zones in the previous administration. I would love to see that expanded and enhanced and actually see it go to communities like ours and others around the United States that will lift the maligned and the underserved communities. And his promise and platinum plan and different things of that sort directed toward African-American males. I want to, and I don't just want to, we'll be at the table to see that the things that he stated on the campaign trail is not just working for a certain group, but it will work for all groups. And again, that does not just happen by President Trump saying it. It happens by him being surrounded by other voices like myself that are not afraid to go in the room and just kind of remind him of this is what needs to be done. And I would like to be a part and at the table to help lead that effort for our communities. Let me kill the lie in our community. In the previous administration, they said I got millions of dollars and I got paid real good. I want to know where it is. I really want to know where it is. But what they don't know is every flight to Washington I paid for, every hotel, all the travel around the country over these last few months was not funded by the National Faith Advisory Board. It was funded out of my pocket, out of my ministry, because of my commitment to this nation and advocating for it. What role I will play now, I don't know. If one is offered to me that still allows me to have a free voice and to not be controlled as a puppet, I'll gladly sit at the table, but I'm not going to sit at the table where I have to be muted because I got to get in line with somebody else. I want to have the same access I had to the president to be able to speak truth to him. And I've spoke truth to him on many occasions. When he asked me hard questions, I gave him hard answers in response. And he looked back at me and say, thank you, and respected me when the rest of the room froze up and said, did you just speak to the president like that? Because at the end of the day, I have one king. That's the King of Kings and the Lords of Lords. That's who I bow to. Everybody else is a man that has to bow to him. So if I see you that way, I'll respect you in your position, but I understand that I come representing a kingdom of God as an ambassador and representing a people that, since I'm in the room, whether they like Trump or not, we do have a leader in the room that does fight for our community, that will do what he can for our community. And I believe them and others may expect me to speak up. So whatever role that God opens up an opportunity at that table, you can believe it'll be a role that still allows me to have a free voice while also bringing bringing home the bacon.
That's what's very impressive about Donald Trump, because he listens and he doesn't mind criticism. And whatever idea, I mean, I see him in action. That's what's very impressive compared to other leaders. He's not gonna knock you down. He's willing to listen to you. He's willing to see how we could change things, and that's very impressive what you're just saying. But let me peddle something what my colleague Roberto just saying. I'm looking at after 72 hours, the Pentagon has a secret meeting. I don't know what they're planning to do against Donald Trump, but that's very scary. And then in the Senate, Mitch McConnell had to step down as the minority leader. Now it's going to be the majority leader. There was 3 senators, and 2 has not been had great relations with President Donald Trump, except Rick Scott. When you look at the senator out of Texas, John Cornyn, and South Dakota, John Thune, I mean, the vote went in, Scott lost, but I think that was a coup against the president. This was planning. What do you know? And I only been talking to Byron. The president had a talk with the minority leader now. Is going to be the majority leader. So how do you see it? Because the president, he got a mandate, and the country gave him that from every category. We got the Senate, and just because of hard work of Donald J. Trump. And I asked, and I was talking to Amania about this, Bishop, there was not a lot of senators endorsing Donald Trump in this election. And every day, I'm like, I could count who's a surrogate for Donald Trump. Either they're afraid or they didn't believe in him, okay? Now, for some of them, Lindsey Graham was always out there, but there was not too many.
Right.
Tim Scott, yeah. But John Cornyn out of Texas, I never see him in the campaign or say anything good about the president. So I'm kind of afraid. And the last time the president has his transition team, it was Chris Christie who put it together.
Right.
Now, because since Roberto's talking about loyalty, he needs people that he worked with. Mm-hmm. He needs people that's not gonna be there to write books. He needs people that he could have confidence with. And we see some of this nomination that's going to be kind of controversy. I'm asking myself, why? Let's pick one, for instance. Let's start with Matt Gaetz, who's been a member of the Judicial Committee in the House, who's been an advocate, who knows the FBI, the DOJ, been targeting Donald Trump, who's been using the lawfare, the persecution, the prosecution. The Department of Justice has a blockade whenever Matt Gaetz asks for information. So I think he's the right person to figure what went wrong for the last 4 years. Now let's pick Tulsi Gabbard, who's a former Democrat, okay? Who was in the watch terror list. Now is going to be the director of the intelligence agency. John Wycliffe, who's going to be the CIA. I think that's good team, that people that he has confidence with. So I'm listening to one of the Republican senators today say, well, Matt Gaetz is not going to go to the nomination. I mean, so you could see the infighting with the Republican Party. So that's a concern to me.
I guess my immediate response to that is even what he mentioned about loyalists. As a leader, I have taken the helm of organizations that I walked in that already was staffed. But when it came to my executive staff that had to work with me, my top tier, there were times that I immediately changed it and put somebody there that I know, that I trust, that understands my vision and my heart. Because why would you have somebody in the room that does not know your heart, that will operate and work against you and possibly help undermine or support who they were loyal to? And then there were times where I allowed people to stay in power that were loyal to another leader. And I saw the benefits of that, where they were still being loyal to a leader that undermined the organization that I was leading. Instead of being loyal to me, they were still talking to the crook that undermined the organization that I've now taken over. So I understand exactly why President Trump is doing. He's doing no different than any other president. You're putting on your cabinet people that are loyal, people that understand your vision, people that's going to support your vision. Because yes, he's walking into a harness net, but the biggest of his harness net is not foreign affairs. His harness net is internal enemies. The fight that he has right here in America with governors that's resisting him before he gets there, and with his own party leaders who still want to raise this idea that, oh, he's not going to be a dictator. He's not going to come here and demand what he wants and we just do it. So I got to push back against it and all of those different things. But I think that where this is going to balance out is because all of those senators and congressmen are going to realize they got to be reelected, and their constituents who voted for Donald Trump are going to be watching how they behave, watching how they respond, because ultimately they don't just represent themselves. They represent the people who put them in office and who helped put President Trump in office. So I believe that he's got an uphill battle, because it's not just the enemies that are out there in America and the foreign lands, but right internally, right in the party, right around him, because the man said he's going to drain the swamp. And you got to understand that some of these guys pushing back, even the Republican Party, are part of that swamp.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a really great point. And with this new leader in the Senate, I mean, from what I can see, I think he's going to definitely be a problem. And one of my disappointments is I went through the list of the senators who did not, vote for Scott in all of this. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. We've got some America First, like Tim Scott and Josh Hawley, and these senators, Lindsey Graham, all of these people who are supposed to be behind the Trump agenda, when we know that Rick Scott is the MAGA, who would be the MAGA person for this job. He would definitely be the one to really work with President Trump and get the business done. And so I just don't see how these guys could have voted for this, and knowing that this guy is just another puppet of McConnell. Like, it's literally just another younger, stronger McConnell, Yes.
I don't really need to guess, but I'm asking a question so the general public can listen. When Rick Scott lost in the very that tells you something. Remember, we're talking about the Senate leader. Everything procedural about the Senate is conducted by that person. That is the person that will vote. That's the person that ensures the business of the
Mm-hmm.
You need someone in that position. Believe it or not, understanding is important very much. Yes, you need someone that understands the lines of their that you don't get asbestos and whatever other diseases that Washington might have. So to me personally, as an independent looking from the outside, I think it's a great move.
I don't agree with you at all. I really don't. I'm
Hold
gonna let you finish.
Hold on.
You need someone that can rally every single part of the party. Is that person missing? That's the question. And I love Senator Rick Scott. That's one of the senators that's so responsive out of this territory. There's nothing against it. But let's look at, again, who can bring the party together to vote and put everybody on the same line, on message, when President Trump wants something done. Who can whip the vote? That was his job. This is someone that raised $30-some billion, that traveled throughout the country and actually did almost 200-some campaign events for every single Republican. So let's not negate the work that he does. I hope you guys know, because this is the danger of having every single control of government. Because you guys have the Senate, you have Congress, you have the Supreme Court. Let's hope the infighting that the Democrats went over the last 50 years don't become your job.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
But you got to look at it, Roberto. I think is a deep state that's controlling Washington right now, and that's the Senate. No. Well, I think Rick Scott would be an independent voice in Washington. It would be independent vote in the Senate. Okay, for them to vote it against it, so that means the infighting. I hope not, and I don't trust Senator Toon, which he was very critical of the president. Okay. So I don't. it's just Rick Scott as a businessman who understands government, who understand. I'm pretty sure now he's on his second term or third. Okay, so he knows he know the players, and that's why his leadership.
Can you run the Senate when President Trump wants to talk agenda? That was my question. Because now we're talking about government. Forget campaign. MAGA and everything else, that's great. Everybody that helped the president, that's great. Now you're president of the United States. It's the 11th hour. You need to win every single vote so that the Democrats don't derail your agenda.
Well, even before that vote, the Senate was convened how they could derail Donald Trump.
No. What I'm saying to you is this. With Senator Scott losing in the first round of the voting, that shows
Yeah, that wasn't a concern to me. Yeah.
he does not have the support of his peers, which the president cannot rely on. That's all I'm saying to you. So you need someone that can bring the left side of the Republican Party together, the centrist, and then the extreme right, if you want to call it that, and bring everybody on board and say, hey, we all follow the agenda of President Trump. Who's that person? It's too.
I hear you, Roberto. Rick Scott's just not able to get it done. I hear you.
And Roberto, you said something that is key, and we can go back and forth about our perspectives on it, but at the end of the day, with having all the power of all the branches, the White House, the Supreme Court, and the House, and all that, it's very important that even though we might have differences, we might have opinions of the president or whatever, we have to work together, because if we don't, your agenda will be derailed, because you better believe the left is looking for a way to get an inch in to try to keep anything from happening, because of the success of the results of the election, they definitely don't want to sit there and watch for 4 years the success of that administration carrying out what he said he was going to do, and it just happened. So I think it is very important that as a party leader, and if I get opportunity to speak to congressmen and Senate, I'm going to tell them I'm looking for you all to work together to get the job done, not just for your party, but for the American people, for all people across the board, the people who voted for Donald Trump, the people who did vote for Donald Trump. He is America's president now, and we need to see our leaders work together to make sure that is done, and it's possible to do it. So I know we might have our differences about who's the majority leader, but at the end of the day, they got to work together and get it done.
Yeah.
Bishop, one of the great debate idea, President Trump is going to eliminate the Department of Education, who was founded under Jimmy Carter in 1979, turning education back to the state, just like abortion, take it at the federal level, turn it back to the state. This country had a great education even before 1979. So a lot of people, especially in the African-American community, so they say we're going to lose scholarship. They're going to ban a lot of books. So it is a lot of rumors that's going on. And is education, when we look at education before in America, before 1970, before 1979, and education after 1979, we see a great decline, especially in our community. So talk to the folks out there, because they'll say, well, the Negro is not going to be educated now, or they're going to lose so much, especially in scholarship fund money. And speaking of scholarship, Glenn, the supervisor of election is in a hot heat. Glenn Kelson is in a fire due to the fact that he had a $24 million budget, okay? And part of that rest of that fund, he allocated it for scholarship fund, okay? So that's been talking, and I'm trying to call Glenn so he could have called on the radio to give some more detail about this. So he's under fire for this. So talk to me about that. Is it, you think the Department of Education, turning the Department of Education back to the state, is that's going to be a mistake on his administration? How do you see it?
Well, I voted for the man who has an agenda to do that. So that lets you know where I stand. With that being said, I watched President Trump in the previous administration while his predecessors defunded historically Black colleges. The very ones who were supposed to represent that defunded it. he increased the budget and funded historical Black colleges. So when our people and communities start listening to all these sound bites of rhetoric and listening to what people say or reading in their manual different projects and agendas that they're reading, they need to, again, do their homework and do what they need to do and stop letting people scare them into thinking that we're going back to slavery, we're going back to the cotton fields, we're going back to a place where we're not being, there's no education for those who are poor. Is it going to be only education for the rich? I actually like the agenda of pro-choice education, where I can make a school choice rather, to make a decision that my child can go to the school that best fits what they need to be advanced. So we've got to watch this thing unfold. I'm believing that the agenda that he has set will work, but of course there are things that he makes statements on the campaign trail that has to be fine-tuned once they get in and whoever he puts over that department. And we just got to watch it unfold and make sure that, again, the right people around the table to speak into the issue to make sure that it is representative and effective for everybody across the board.
Thank you, Bishop. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We're coming back with we're going to talk about some of this nomination. Our own senator here, Marco Rubio, who's going to be the Secretary of State.
You're listening to Inspiration 1680 AM.
Hello, guys. So we are live in the studio. We are at the radio station, as you can tell. I decided to stream the conversation with Bishop Calvin, who again is a MAGA Trumper. And so I wanted to be able to share this moment with you guys. I'm crawling into the bathroom, you guys. So I wanted y'all to see the conversation. So we'll have to just bear with it. I know you can't hear some of the other people who are talking or the callers when they're calling in, but I thought you might be able to get some good lessons out of this conversation, because this is a man who is, an advisor to President Trump. He's a prayer warrior for President Trump. He's been in the room, and he was at Mar-a-Lago for election night, and so he has a lot of insight. And so I thought, I didn't want this conversation to go to waste without you guys being able to take it in. So that's what we're doing. Happy that you guys are here. Chat with me. I'm able to chat. So you guys can send me some thoughts through the chat. And I'm really, really appreciative of you guys coming through. And so we're in a commercial right now. So we're going to go back into the room. And so you guys stick around, because the conversation is going to get even better, because we're going to talk about all of the new appointments that President Trump has put into place. Dodge or Doge, whatever you want to call it, Elon and Vivek getting ready to drain the swamp, Senator Marco Rubio becoming Secretary of State, and bombshell, Laura Trump might be the one replacing him in that seat. So we're going to talk a lot about these things. And, I forget, Matt Gaetz, one of the biggest appointments yet. So it's going to be fun. So we're going to get back in there. Thank you, guys. And we're moving. I don't need to use the lube. I'm good. Okay, come on.
Welcome back to WKB Political Flashback every Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. Also, if you want to ask the bishop a question or participate in the show, we do have the phone line open at 407-894-1680. 407-894-1680. Let me give a shout out to Glenn. Let me give a shout out to Shanti. And let me give a shout out to Bibi, who posts something very interesting I was reading. Say we only 14% of the population. If we start aborting our babies, our Black children, even though we could start electing a president that we want.
Mhm.
I find it very fascinating. So her point is stop killing the babies. Okay? So stop aborting those black children. Perhaps we could increase on our population. It's been a decade since we had 14%. And I see the bishop shaking his head. So shout out to BB. BB, if you're out here listening to, I was so amazed and looking at your post. You made a very great point, because when I'm seeing black women is blaming black men for what happened in this election, when I see black is blaming Spanish for overwhelming support President Trump. So I'm like, where are we going with this? When I see black leaders who say there is no more brown anymore, you on your own, we're not gonna support you. This is how crazy this is. So when I see Thanksgiving around the corner and there's an incident happen, this guy's actually shot his wife. Okay. When I see a certain neighborhood right now, if you supported Donald Trump, they don't want your kids to play with their kids. And that's the radical liberals. And who's the threat to democracy? Go ahead, Bishop.
I want to echo BB. Thank you for your advocacy and work for pro-life. As an African-American woman in Pine Hills, that's not easy work. And I've watched you be criticized, maligned, not have the support. And even in this last campaign, it may seem like you didn't have victory, but yes, you did. Your opponent may have won, but your party won across the board at the federal level. And I believe that God sometime will, yes. Yeah. She did. She did. She did. She did fantastic. And what, again, those numbers speak to that everybody's not going the other direction. There are people in America that are reasonable and that is looking for a moderate, reasonable voice that will stand the truth but be fair. And Bibi represents that, and I want to commend her for her work. And I believe that God is going to elevate her beyond Orange County Pine Hills to have a voice nationally to save lives in minority communities, because the sad reality is Black folk want to talk about genocide. What you think abortion is? Come on, cuckoo clock. You want to talk about genocide and Black Lives Matter? Well, stop supporting abortion clinics. If Black Lives Matter so much, stop killing your babies. And,
Bishop,
we got to get real about it.
Why are communities not seeing that? Why?
Well, our leaders, unfortunately, my colleagues, and I hope some of them are listening that are already mad at me, and I don't care.
Especially the pastors on the church,
the pulpit puppets are standing in pulpit endorsing Amendment 4, telling their congregation to vote yes. A pastor say vote yes on Amendment 4. And I got them all on my phone here where they sent out a whole list, the pastors pick. And in the pastors pick, and I know exactly what pastors pick them, I wouldn't dare sit under the congregation. If you pick to vote for Amendment 4, that more than abortion at full term, that my child can go get an abortion without my permission, without my knowledge, and she can't even take a Tylenol without my permission, it's nonsense. And when you see spiritual leaders that are so invested, they're trying to talk about Trump evangelicals. Trump, they think he's the Messiah. Well, what do you think to the left? You are bowing down to the left, killing your communities, and instead of bowing down to them, I want to ask every Black church, where's your pregnancy center? You don't see one in African-American churches, do you? You see First Baptist with one, but how many pregnancy centers do you see at African-American churches that have the funds and resources to do it? Instead of getting alongside murder, why don't you get alongside programs that provide women with an alternative and an opportunity to have the child be adopted, or to be worked with to have the support? It is bad when a prophet of God stands against the word of God. The Bible is very clear. Before I formed you in your mother's belly, I knew you, which means life begins at the thought of God. I knew you before your mom and daddy got together, and I ordained you at that time to be a prophet to the nation. So who am I to legislate or go alongside people to kill babies when God is all about life? And the problem with our community is instead of doing research, they listen to the pulpit, they listen to the pundits, they listen to the activists instead of doing their homework and listening to God and listening to conscience. Mm-hmm.
That did not survive the system. It went back into the ways. We're talking about resources. What are some of those resources that we can bring into the community where now conservatives are not only pro-life at birth, but they're pro-life throughout the journey. So what are some of the things that you can see being implemented and the policies can go where you might bring more people to the cause now? Okay, we're not just talking about pro-life only, which is the biggest critic that you have received.
Well, I know the National Favor Advisory Board, we talked about life at all stages. So we didn't limit it to just pro-life and protecting babies. But I'm sorry, the obvious is that babies and unborn are the target for murder and killing. So I believe that at the end of the day, that now that the Republican Party has the helm of the government, it was us who turned over Roe versus Wade. It was us who worked hard to advocate to uplift life versus abortion. So at the end of the day, although we might have the helm of all of these places, yes, you can write policy, you can provide appropriations that can fund certain things, it still has to be embraced by the communities that need them. And the problem is, a lot of time those resources are available, but because everybody got this ideal that this pro-life movement is something that Black communities should not embrace. They should not, because that's a white racist national supremacist thing that we don't need to be aligned with. And because they're not educated about it, they refuse it. And what I've been preaching to the evangelical community, because I preach in a lot of congregations that are white. My congregation, I pastor a congregation that's 90% Caucasian. I have Blacks there, I have Hispanics, but majority of my church is white, and there's none of them are white conservatives. So when I preach to white conservatives, what I say to them is, the day is over for us just standing in front of abortion clinic saying, don't do that, you're going to die, God's going to judge you. No, the love and compassion of God says, instead of yelling at them, provide a door, provide an opportunity, provide an alternative, provide a resource that can help that woman and even help the man who was a part of this process who impregnated her, so that at the end of the day, we can preserve and protect the family. So that's the way I would like to see BB and myself and others come to the table more, to be able to speak to that and get that type of support for our community.
Use that as a rallying cry as well. You've seen some of the prisoners, in terms of criminal justice, because when you're talking about all that discussion of community, we believe those people should be included.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you can bring to the world you see the way?
In the previous administration, when he was there first time, prison reform was not on his agenda. He brought it to the table. Many of us was at the table. Kim Kardashian and many others were at the table to craft what that looks like. He said, let's do it. Now, he couldn't do it alone. We had to advocate with Congress and Senate. And just like I said, they got to work together, because those houses could have blocked it. But because we were able to work together, it was a bipartisan type of situation that was passed. And as a result, a number of our people in communities that had minimal sentences for certain things were released. And so I was proud of that. And even one of them was a former congresswoman that I was able to advocate for, and she was released and free and all of those things. So I saw the work of criminal justice reform. I would love to see now, as we go back, how we can come back to the table and see how we can further expand it. You know, nothing that's going to go against the agenda of what we stand for, but to be able to lift it up more, to be able to help more individuals get back to society, get back to their families, and be a productive part of that society, because they definitely can't do that locked away in federal prison.
Thank you for that. I would like to say to BB Ford, she really does do a great job of, you know, trying to save the babies and trying to do the things that she's trying to do in the community. And she did run a very good race. So BB, congratulations on the work that you've done. And so back to, I just would like to
stand that point for a second, because the fact that is we were not getting a lot of national help from the Republican Party. And we were at the Lincoln dinner, they kind of wrote that discussion of how do we move beyond that. And also, was it Saturday when I talked to you, they said, well, none of the Florida candidate did well at all. It was a total failure, Bishop. So how do we get the national from the Florida GOP, who kind of write off some of the district off, and this is some of the thing that I'm moving forward to touch with. Go ahead. I just want to touch that.
Well,
And I want to respond to that.
Okay.
yeah, I'll continue with that. I'm glad you brought it up, Voy. And I get real passionate about this a particular
And it was
part
full on
of,
our face.
of it because Bishop, I work campaigns here locally, and so I've been on multiple ones, and this is one of the things that I always encounter. It's, the raising of the funds, the money, the support from the party. And I remember, Voy, early on, we were talking about Laura Trump becoming the chair of the RNC, and that she would be willing to help everyone in this landscape to get to the win. But for whatever reason, it just never got to the Orange GOP. And even, like the Seminole County, we just watched so many elections go by. We had a great candidate, District 9, Lieutenant Chalifo, who put $2.5 million of his own money in, but he couldn't get it done against Durham Soto because he had no help. Not really. And even BB Ford, she didn't get any money, any funds. Willie Montague, I can go on. And we lost seats here, and we also lost Carolina Amnesty seat in the House. So Orange GOP, or the Orange Party in this community here, the Florida GOP, yes, I feel like there's a failure somewhere. There's a disconnect, and they're always saying that this area is not winnable. I mean, I remember we were in the room and they're like, yeah, it's not winnable. You don't have the votes. But guess what? Donald Trump didn't at one point, and look at what happened. So we do have the vote. We just have to get on the ground and get people motivated and educated and get them to vote, and it can be won. BB Ford could have won District 40. She could have done that. I know she could have, but she didn't get the kind of support that she needed to execute that.
I met with the RNC chair a few months ago, myself and other conservative leaders. And when I'm in a room and they talking about the Black community, I always tell them, I need y'all to quiet down because none of y'all in here Black. And since you're not Black, you need to talk to the person who is the expert in Blackness, because I'm a Black man and I live in a community that you don't. I said, so with that being said, I said, see, this Black Republican ain't no puppet. I speak truth to everybody. And so I'm in that room and I said, well, what you need to understand is the Democratic Party has mastered the ground game. And they mastered it for years. And they bring the hot dogs, the book bags, and everything we like, the barbecue, and the fish. They knock on the doors. They got the numbers. They know when you vote. And there's nothing you can do but commend the Democratic Party for doing it. The Republican Party has taken the Black community for granted because you automatically assume everybody Black is Democrat. Everybody Black is going to vote liberals. You forget about the independents. You forget about those who are trying to reason to find a good candidate, and you just ignore it because, Orange County is Democrat, so we're not going to waste our money there. I said, but that's not the approach you need to take. The Republican Party needs a ground game, and I would like to say the ground game that you saw in this election, that my statements may have had a lot to do with that, because I challenged the leaders that were at that table to enhance that and take that to another level, and they put millions of dollars behind it. However, we've got to see that comes to Orange County, because what happened is because Orange County is a liberal county, and when they see that, they automatically say, oh, we won't be able to flip that. But I even got to go back to the table of the party and say, well, I'm afraid that some of the blue states that were blue states, Trump flipped, and they are now red. Some of those counties that were blue counties, Trump flipped, and they're now red.
Look at Chicago.
Look at Chicago.
Look at Dade County.
And even the ones that he didn't flip, look how close it was.
Jersey.
He came to Jersey.
New York, California.
So if you take us serious and invest, going back to what you said, you may see other independents and other people who may be Democrat that may be fed up that might end up voting Republican if we bring money to the table to get the candidates out there that are serious, to make them known, because they might not be known to the area, but if they have the money and the support, we can push a good candidate. So I totally agree with you.
So I would just throw that in here right now. So 2026, this is the opportunity for we as Republicans to start to put the groundwork together to do exactly that.
Right.
And I'm talking about getting at the top with the RNC and everybody across the board. Because, you know, the Evan Powers, the RPOF chair, you know, he says, you know, he wants to turn Orange County red. I'm yet to see exactly what it is that he is doing or has done. So we're going to put 2024 behind us and we're going to look forward to 2026. So at this point, I would like to see where we're going to go with this party, and specifically in Orange County. Yes, Roberto. Yes.
One of them is that we believe the impact is in the local and something as serious as scheduling the party meetings during Jewish holidays was a big issue. Because when you have the majority base in Miami as Jewish, they can't even attend no meeting from an democratic time standpoint. But that's a big issue. And you get rid of so many of your leaders that were among the Jewish community. That's an issue. So when you see President Trump leaving Miami, a lot of the mistakes were made by the impact. So now coming here in Orange County, you say 2026, I think it works out.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think this county is as liberal as a lot of people.
No.
This is still a citrus county. So no, it is not. We've been to a apartheid district. We've been to the deep side of the border. We know it's not that way. We've been to the west side of Orange County, where we bordering Lake County.
All right.
But it starts with leadership, understanding, locally, understanding how we reach out to people. You want to be competitive in District 10? When was the last time you held anything from the Republican side in District 10? When was the last time where you were at Barnett Park creating a program
Exactly.
for at-risk youth in Barnett Park? So it's not just, oh, I want you to come out and vote. Why don't you invest in it?
Yeah.
Right.
That would be my advice if they were serious about it, because we've seen some great candidates. Whether it was Carlo, I believe.
Yeah, that was back in 2020, and we have Colonel Shalafo.
So if you're gonna defeat them, you need to go and challenge them. And when you have someone with that resume that the Colonel had, you have a serious candidate.
Yeah.
But the ground game wasn't there.
Yeah.
So the ground game is not your GOTV message on the last 30 days of the campaign. It's 2, 3, 4 years out.
Roberto, to touch upon what you're saying, and I want some of our Republican and candidate, they also have to look at this election, because I'm looking at some of the county that was deep blue county in America where Donald Trump do so well. And that's what I was talking to Amania the other day. I say, are they looking this model to say, wait a minute here, next GOP meeting, either to kick me out of the room, because I'm going to have a fit. And she know how I get. I'm going to have a fit, because are you looking at this data when you say District 10 is not winnable? I got to get Maxwell Force out in 2026. I got to get him out.
Now, here's my thing for you.
Okay.
You guys just
Because this guy only ran on Green Deal, and he got 60% of the vote in this area.
Hold on. But you just watched the movie. I hope Republicans understand they will never get another Donald Trump or even another 2 years. So the fact that he's not going to get the ticket 2 years from now is going to be very tough.
Well, guess what?
Yeah,
Guess what? In
That's the
2026,
sad part.
in 2026, if we keep the same energy, Donald Trump, this election was about a revolution.
But the turnout
It opened people's eyes. It opened people's eyes. It opened how you could campaign. Don't take no for an answer. Work as hard as you can. And guess what? He sabotaged the legacy media. Donald Trump did that. Because this, one of the thing I was afraid of in this election, and we talk about it, and I was in contact with some of the national folks to the end. I said, guess what? I'm nervous. I look at the data, everything is looking good. And I've been telling her, do not look at CNN polling data. Do not look at MSN polling data. And I call her, I say, Amania, don't look at those data. Do not. So because we had some information, okay, the internal poll, what was given to us, and I said, Amania, the only thing I'm afraid of, I don't know what the Democrats going to pull in at the end. We are looking good. I was constantly with a conference call with the Protect the Vote. Laura Trump did a great job on that point, but I was nervous. I'm telling you, because I don't know what they get. And we find out, yes, we had over about 500 attorneys around the country watching the poll. So we did something very strategic, okay? With the Protect the Vote, we had people there, and people was taking with their cell phone, okay? They were taking pictures, they were recording. That helped us out a lot. Because you look at what happened in PA in that county where they stopped Republican line to vote, and that's that one county also give them a majority by one vote for them to control. Mm-hmm.
Here's my question for you, and I want Bishop to weigh in as well. Can you get that same energy?
Yes, we can, because that's going to be a midterm, and Donald Trump's going to be the president.
You gotta listen to the question before you jump now. Can you get that same energy without a President Trump being on the ballot? Without a President Trump running the biggest prayer that has been answered for Democrats is how much you want to bring that man.
Well, we don't know that. He might get a third term. No, I'll go over with you. He might get a third term.
You're already nervous as it is. So honestly, my question, how does the Republican Party utilize all the resources you just mentioned, the black movement, President Trump, whatever you want to call it, and make sure now it's institutionalized and being part of the Republican Party, ground game, registration, whatever you call it? That's my question. I'm not saying it's not doable, but you don't have Donald Trump anymore. I just want you guys to make sure you understand that.
Yeah.
And that's the uniform.
So,
That's the uniform right now.
Roberto, I'm right there with you. I feel exactly what you're saying, because this was our opportunity, ballot down, to get everybody in. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. And I hear you. So yeah, 2026 is going to be difficult. We should have taken that opportunity, ran with it all the way. Yeah, he's hearing it. We should have taken that opportunity and run, but we fumbled it like Fickle. We fumbled the ball. We fumbled it here in Orange County, and we won't get that opportunity again. So you're absolutely right, Bishop.
And I'll add to that now Donald Trump is going to be around, and although whether he'll be still president in 4 years, he'll still have say and voice in supporting and pushing. But the reality is this, going back to your point, the Republican Party, and for those who have just put their focus on President Trump and made President Trump the Republican Party, this is where they got to pull it back in and realize that is President Trump is a big part, but he's not the only part. And it's very important now that the party becomes strategic. Now that we're at the helm of power, you got to become strategic. You got to plan. You got to, don't repeat let's learn from the Democrats. Don't take your people for granted. Don't take your people for granted, because when you do, just like we had the red wave, if we take our people for granted, they'll have a blue wave. And that's why we have an opportunity now, while we're in power, to be strategic, plan, get things in line, get the right candidates in place, train them, prepare them, put money behind them, put support behind them, so that we can keep this thing going. Because if we don't, it'll flip right back the other way. But you got your man in, you got Trump, but now you got to look at the work of the party and the agenda that we want to do, not only for the next 4 years, but moving forward.
I'd like to just add to that, Bishop. When we look at the numbers, one of the things that I see is that, especially here in Orange County, we have more registered independents, NPAs, than we have Republican. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we have to really do strategically is to start to court the MPAs. I mean, even the Democrats, we have to start to go into their camps. We have to start to go where they are, meet them where they are, and get the Republican Party and our policies and say, hey, I think you might be happy over here. And so we have to do that. We have to go across the aisle and bring them in and present to them what we have to offer so we can start to grow the numbers here in Orange County.
Let me use, for example, for instance, if I ran for office right now, I would not run off the fact that I'm a conservative. You're going to know that because I wouldn't hide it, but I would run off my work. Going
Absolutely.
back, no one in this community can challenge me about my work. Years of serving this community, years of fighting and advocating and speaking and all those different things while pushing other candidates, not pushing myself. I would run off of my work, and that's what the Republican Party's got to come back to do. Again, don't take these communities for granted. Let's stop talking about, I'm going to help lift up and make your community better. But in the meantime, let's do some things that does help bring those maligned communities and make them better so that now we can resonate and no one want to know how much you know till they know how much you care. And when we show that care by investing and reinvesting in the community, now we pull independents in. Now we even pull some Democrats in because it's no longer just the Democratic Party. They're just handing their hot dogs out and chips and having a party, but you actually got somebody here that more than a hot dog and chips, we're offering you a hand up, teaching our young people how to be capitalists, teaching our young people how to invest in this great economy that's happening right now, where the stocks are going up, and instead of buying $200 shoes, why don't you invest in that? Hello. But if nobody teach them that, if nobody invested in our community, they will repeat the same cycle of poverty and remain poor. And that's what we got to check time and time. Right. Right. Right.
Military across Mexico, which could be considered as an alpha war. And now you have China, that is one of the anchors of the future trade. So how do we prepare for black men, brown men that are already here to take over these factory jobs, these different tech jobs that are in Mexico, if you were to make them happen? How do we get ahead of that curve and make sure that that again, it's not supposed to be about in a year from now. We have to be really ready.
The black community responds to black leadership. And I think that black leaders have got to get off this sweating and hooping and hollering about the hype of injustice, these racists, these white supremacists. Okay, we understand that there are people like that out there. But we can't focus on that because you can't change those people. But what you can do is learn how to survive in a culture that may try to sabotage, may try to suffocate you, might try to hinder you. And you can't blame a white supremacist or racist on your inability to embrace a skill set and take on a job that Mexicans will, that we too bougie, we look down upon, but they embrace it and they maximize on it. We've got to teach our people that now is the time to get the skill set, get things in line so that if and when what you just stated happen, we're ready to step up and to step in and to take over and see our communities come up. Just talk.
Yeah.
Talk.
Well, we're going to have some action, Roberto. Bishop, you talking about your work, because I'm going to come to the point of that. We see the appointment of Marco Rubio as the next Secretary of State. There's talk the governor, DeSantis, might be appointed lower to that seat. She has not been as Florida. I know she's the co-chair of the GOP. And there's Baron Dano might be appointed also. I mean, the governor might selected to fill that seat until 2026. But I'm looking at another aspect, Bishop, I think is you. Because, yes, absolutely. I think Bishop Cabarrus, I don't know what's, just like Donald Trump surprised me with Matt Gate. I did not see that one on my radar, I'll be honest with you. I think we should start advocate for you to be appointed to that seat because you're a Floridian, you're in Orlando, born and raised in here, and people know the kind of work that you do. So what can we do if I need to start calling the office of the governor, Ron DeSantis, to look at you? Or you got better connection than Mar-a-Lago? Are you open for that? Are you lobbying yourself to take a look at you? I don't know. Donald Trump might surprise us the next hour or so. I just got something. Doug Collins out of Georgia is going to be the secretary of the VA. So, and also Tulker Carlson might be the press secretary. So there's a lot of talk. So is your name is floating around here, Bishop? Let me know something.
One, I'm not lobbying, and two, I don't know if my name is floating around anywhere. But what I have said, and I stated earlier, whatever door that opens for me, I just want to make sure there's a door that keeps my voice free. I don't want to be bound to someone's agenda. I will not become someone's puppet. I want to be able to freely represent all of the communities, not just the Black community, but Americans across the board, but of course represent home. So if that opportunity opens, I wouldn't come against it because I know that I'm not just a pastor. I know I'm not just a pulpiteer. I'm called to a higher place than that. And I don't believe that God has given me this access and this influence within this access just for me to promote Donald Trump or just for me to promote the Republican agenda. But I believe he wants me to have a seat at the table and a voice in that room that represents everybody across the board. And when that opportunity happens, I'll be right there to walk in.
What 2026? Are you getting ready or looking at some aspects, some seat that you might run for?
Honestly, no.
Either on the state level or at the federal level?
Honestly, no. And that's some discussions that I may have with, because again, I've always done what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I would have to have a discussion with those experts and those who know how to prepare the next leader to see if this is something that, vetted and see if something that could possibly happen. But right for now, my focus is on continuing to work, and wherever that place that I can do that work and be that voice and bring home that bacon and make things well for us all.
You have that voice. You've been a treasure when you look at your speech and preach. And I remember I used to be at Pastor McKnight Church, and whenever you come there as a visitor, my God, the crowd. You've always been amazing for so many years, and I think God called you right now to be a good servant. I know you ran for office one time. Okay. I think this is the time for you to take a look at it. I know it's not an easy decision because you have teenagers and the family. But I really let me see by tomorrow, see if your name float out there. I might get some surprise on my phone that you'll be appointed the next senator to serve for 2 years, and I think you'll be a great leader for this community.
Oh.
Well, I love Haiti. You better believe I support Haiti 100%. You know that. Yeah.
But I just want to say this. This is the first time that we're meeting in this service. You're a man of conviction. I can see that. And just like I appreciate it in voice, I appreciate people that say what they believe. In this day and age in America, it's very difficult. My mother-in-law that I love dearly just told my wife, well, I guess Roberto's man won, so he must be very happy. I had to tell her, well, Roberto's not a Donald Trump supporter. Roberto's a voice of reason.
Right.
So we get it hit everywhere in the family. So she's not gonna cook some of that good meals and that good rice and John. Wow.
But I wanted to bring up this point because again, in America, it's very tough to find sensible people to have sensible discussion. We don't want to live in the extremes. I don't like the boys growing up with Trump, therefore I'm going to black him out. I don't like Amania and I
Right.
abortion, therefore. No, I don't think we really got created any of us to be one or the other.
Right.
We don't both have mental hate. We're going to agree and disagree on things, but it's a discussion to come and sit down with people that have the background, have the work to back it. Oftentimes, I approach my Democrats friendly people about this. You give power to a lot of people. people don't have the life experience, they don't have the professional experience to actually craft policy for the community, they end up hurting the community. And that's what we've been seeing in the past. And nothing else. We want to go back again to our 1 million convictions actually have government. So
Right.
whatever the call is, next time, whatever they call me to do, I'm going to be doing great things. And that's one of the things that we do.
Thank you.
Bishop, one last point I'm going to make on this. I was listening to Jamal Simmons in CNN. He's the communication director for Kamala Harris. I don't understand the Democrat. I don't understand our community. He stated in CNN, mentioned Joe Biden should step down and let Kamala Harris be the president so Donald Trump won't swear in as president. The only two people I see very happy in Washington, D.C. today is Joe Biden and Jill Biden. No, because you got to see, if you look at this video where yesterday, where Joe Biden sit down with the president, I have never seen him so engaged. It's like, I had never seen him so engaged. And he's like, and you got to see Jill Biden on Monday at the VA. It's like they were thrilled. Okay. Is it a hypocrisy what the Democrat trying to expose? And is it hypocrisy when I'm listening to white liberals who control the Democrat Party? In 1962, I don't have time to play it again. Malcolm X stated, we have to fear the white liberals, not the conservative. Okay, and we got to be careful because the white liberals, remember that the Democrat Party is the Andrew Jackson Party, okay? And his nickname was a jackass, sorry to use that language, all right? And the party has not changed. You look at the history of the party. You look at the assassination attempt of that party from the 13th Amendment, well, heavily supported by the Republican. And when I look at my brothers and sisters in my own community, and I'm like, I'm a history man. I love history. When I first came in this country, that was one thing that was amazing about me is I'm learning the American history. I'm learning the history. I was never good at math. My math is not that great. But you tell me where any other country anything is at. But yeah, I love history. From the 13th to the 14th Amendment to the 15th Amendment. You look at it was heavily supported by Republican. And in 1965, the Democrat filibustered the civil rights movement, and they assassinated Martin Luther King. And you look at Malcolm X, one of these great speeches, I think, during that time. And you look at the 1968, the Civil Rights Act move, the 1968, the Fair Housing Act. Your wife is a realtor. When I listen to some of my people, to say, well, Donald Trump did not rent to Black people. The lawsuit was brought in 1971. Until this day, we suffering racism. And one of the number one the Democrat have is racism. If they don't have it in their agenda, they don't have a platform. How do we overcome that? And as an African-American, as a Black person living in this country, therefore you see now the division of that great division among us, and it created by the Democrat Party. It's not Trump who started this. Let me tell you how all this started. When Donald Trump came out that elevator, when the FBI and Barack Hussein Obama, who spied on his campaign, that started all this hate. And when you look at Barack Hussein Obama on the campaign trail telling Black people, you better vote for her, talking down to Black folks. And I was really shocked and react to see the backlash that Barack had. So this is the attitude of the Democratic Party. How do we move beyond that?
First of all, the Democratic Party is suffering from an identity crisis. And because they're suffering from an identity crisis, they're just trying to fit wherever they can fit so they can win. Whoever agenda they can pick up, that they can run with it, that's what they're going to do. Their whole party is divided against itself. You got the extreme radical Democrats. You got the Democrats of the past, and then you got the ones in between that don't know where they are. And the reality is you saw this derailment when the change from Joe Biden to Kamala happened. When they talk about a threat against democracy, Joe Biden was already elected by his party to be the nominee. His party derailed him because of his cognitive challenges that they knew he had for a long time, that they lied, including Vice President Harris lied, saying that he didn't. But as a result, they then prop up Vice President Harris with this short time to try to run this race that later on, that they know she wasn't going to win, that now they can blame it on her. And so in the reality, when they need to all take responsibility for why they are where they are right now, and making Vice President Harris the president for a few days won't make any sense. And actually, it would take away from the opportunity of one day a woman.
It's like they want to create more division.
Right. A woman actually duly getting elected and being respected for being the first woman. The American people spoke and they didn't want Harris. So people get over it. She didn't win. We didn't want her. And you lost. So with that being said, I want to say to our community this: stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop allowing these folk to use racism to be your only soundbite to stir you up against someone, especially when we're not dealing with our own prejudice in our own community. We have Black Americans that think they're better than Haitians. Black Americans that think they're better than Jamaican. We got Jamaican, Haitian, and Black Americans divided against one another when all of us Black. And I call that ignorance. And so we want to talk about racism and what the white man doing. And most of my challenges in my community ain't come from the white man. It came from people that look just like me, that defame me, who don't know anything about me, that try to derail my agenda, derail what I stand for, and come against me. And it hadn't been a white man. So at the end of the day, I'm not saying that they're not racist. I'm not saying that there are people on the other side that are wrong, but stop drinking the Kool-Aid, because it's meant to divide. And at the end of the day, they're not dividing you against them. They're dividing us against one another, because there's some of us intelligent enough to know that I'm not drinking that anymore. Yes, there may be some racists, but the reality is that's not the driving force of my decision about who I elect and why I come out. And so what I want to say to us, I believe that we can overcome this if we as a people get educated and study and research and make our decisions based off of that, versus finding the sound bites and being stirred up by the confusion and rhetoric that further divides us.
And another fast one, the Democrat trying to pull to have Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor to resign now, so Trump will not have that appointment.
Who's that?
Justice Sotomayor. Okay. So they could have appointed Kamala Harris.
What?
Yeah. These people are insane. Jeff, do we have somebody in line? Okay. Somebody was trying to call in and text. I think it was Dr. White. So this is the party. Is democracy is not a threat. Okay. So we might see some changes before Donald Trump swear in. So yeah, they want Justice to resign so they could appoint
Kamala
Harris.
Wow.
To the seat.
Wow.
So she could
Again,
I'm
as
baffled.
I told you, they have an identity crisis, and whatever they can do to stir their agenda, they will do it. But we got to stay focused on what we have in position and how we're positioning ourselves for the next 4 years.
All right, let me talk about, this week, how this administration is going to handle Haiti. There's a crisis in Haiti, as you probably know. I think it was Monday. We on the verge of having another prime minister. Okay. And also, there was shot fire at American airline, the Spirit airline had to make an emergency landing in Dominican Republic. With all the chaos, it was during the Biden administration, Jovenel Moïse was assassinated. Haiti I was talking to some people, one of the people in the government right now, is that the situation is very critical. We've been blocked even from transit from other country around. A lot of folks don't understand most of the policies, the U.S. policies towards Haiti. Now, there is 30 days restriction. Okay, so people cannot. No American Airlines, Spirit, American Airlines said they're going to take longer to assess the situation, probably 3 months. How do you think with the appointment of Marco Rubio, who was the chairman of the Foreign Relationship Committee, who are also very aware of the situation, and I asked to have a meeting with him, as a matter of fact, just in my letter, to sit down, and you as a leader who's very approached as a spiritual leader, for Donald Trump to look at the situation, and the night that we have coverage, we say, well, tell Donald Trump that the Haitian community in Central Florida, around the state and around the country, also supported him. How do we see he's going to engage with the Haiti crisis?
Well, first of all, I would like to appeal to a Haitian leader, pastor that might be listening to me, that's not afraid to come into Donald Trump's Oval Office and speak on behalf of your people. Now, you can talk all your noise from your pulpit here in Orlando and wherever you are, but can you stand in an Oval Office and speak to the president regarding the people of Haiti? Of course, I'll do it, but I can't do that alone. And it would be even more effective to have a Haitian American that have Haitian family and friends to also advocate and speak, because I will make that access and open that door to help get them in so that we can speak toward this. And I believe that that's a part of the way to bring the agenda of Haiti and the needs of the support and the resources that it may need and the support from America to President Trump. So just like prison reform may have been the highlight on his agenda, but when somebody advocated for it and made it a big deal, he listened and he responded. And I believe in this situation with Haiti, that if somebody brings that to the table, that he'll listen again and we'll be able to get the Haitian people the help they need.
Roberto, hold on. I got Dr. White on the phone. Want to say hello, Bishop Cabrera. So go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. White.
Hello, Bishop. This is Dr. V. Issa White.
Hello, Dr. White.
I'm so sorry that I didn't get on earlier, but I'm so very proud of what you're doing and how you're representing our community with the Donald Trump administration. And finally, we have someone of your caliber who can represent the truths of our community and take us to a place that we should be, not as just people of African descent, but Americans who are trying to create a better society and world.
Yes.
So again, I respect you, I favor you, and may God continue to bless you. And you know, when you have Dr. B. Issa White, you have somebody good on your corner.
Yes.
And he's going to be fighting.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. White. Thank you. And get better. Okay, my friend? God bless. I'll call you later.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You may continue, Bishop.
Yeah, and that as it relates, as I stated, if I get some advocates for Haiti to stand with me, and I think one minister walked up to me at the Faith Summit and said, "I'm a Haitian American, I'm a black lady, I'm a minister," and said, "I would love to come in the room to represent Haiti." And I said, "Well, I'll work to get you in that room." One thing I can assure you about President Trump, from what I know, he will hear you. He will listen to you. And if you put it before him and advocate and get some support behind it, you can get some things done. But if all of us shy away as black people from President Trump because you're worried about the opinions of others, you'll walk away with nothing because you won't come to the table and ask.
Well, I just want to say, I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's if you can open up those doors, I think you guys should figure it out. We as Haitians should figure it out and take that opportunity and walk in the door. Roberto, Johnny, I think so. Boy.
Right. True. Sure.
And now you have a country that literally just had a full prime minister in transition trying to get to the election. So those are facts.
Right.
I understand the real situation of the because the biggest thing being so is not having the right media
Right.
I said this to a lot of friends that were always critical. We don't want the US to step in and
Exactly.
And so until then, you need to, sadly, it's always the voices of, my pocket is more important than the population.
Right.
So I appreciate the lecture. I hope, boy, we can discuss all that in my
Mhm.
what we need to do and the bishop should do, especially in local Haiti. Nothing can be done with an ambassador of Haiti,
With an island of 12 million people, one other concern is, Bishop, and I was yesterday listening to Tom Hartman on Sean Hannity. Okay. Me, I get hit a lot because I'm a Haitian immigrant. Okay. And I came to this country and I serve it and I understand it. Some of the radio pundit out there and the listen to the mainstream media that Donald Trump is going to deport them. Okay. Yesterday, I saved a video with Tom. Say, listen, I don't know where these people are getting some of the information. Okay, the people on the ladies on the View, even American citizen, the Donald Trump, they're gonna denaturalize. You heard that a lot. Denaturalize even brown people and black people. So that's also going in our community. So when you're trying to give them, be a voice of reason to tell them, no, this is not going to happen. And Tom Hartman, he was very clear yesterday. We have over 1 million people backlog, that is criminals with letters of deportation. With the situation in Haiti, yes, some of them is fear of what's happening. So I'm going to give it a last minute. That's why you heard the music is playing if you want to say something. And also to preach on this wonderful Thanksgiving that's coming in for the people that's preaching hate and division. So I'm going to give it a last minute.
People don't believe the news. Focus on the facts. Those who are afraid about immigration, listen carefully to what President Trump is saying. They're not coming through your communities to send you back across the water. Get an understanding. Finally, I want to say, with it in everything, give thanks. For this is the will of Christ Jesus concerning us. We have a lot to be thankful for. And the final statement I want to make tonight, in the midst of all of this division and confusion, the way you can make the difference is if you follow peace. Follow peace and encourage peace amongst your brethren. And we'll see a difference in this local city, our state, our world. God bless you.
Bishop, thank you so much for taking the time and spending that time with us. And we really do appreciate it and your perspective. You are truly a lion, I would have to say, in this war. And we need more like you. We need more righteous men to stand up, alphas to stand up for the people. So thank you, Bishop.
Thank you.
Bishop Cabarrus, thank you. I got to bring you for another segment. Hopefully, if you have some time, you let me know. I appreciate you are truly a national treasure, and I hope your name is being out there to be appointed, and I would love to see it, so I got to get to work. I got to get to work to see if your name floated out there to be appointed for the next senator until 2026. Hopefully, you have great ambitions, and thanks for your leadership, and thank you for standing with Donald J. Trump. Central Florida should be very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your family, your mom, your brother. I mean, everybody should be proud of you. And the family at WKB, this is your family. They should be proud to have such a leader like you. You've been grown. Your voice speak. Like I say, you're a national treasure. Thank you so much. And hopefully I could have you another time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wonderful.
That was good.
Come on, brother. Great to finally meet you in person.
Yeah, it's great to meet you as well. Yeah.
Pleasure. What office did you run for?
I ran